chosen one. Pause for a moment and really hear this, because what you are about to feel is not random. You were not led here by accident. Out of all the noise, all the voices, all the distractions competing for your attention right now, something pulled you here. And before your mind tries to analyze it, your spirit already recognizes it. You were not created to live chasing leftovers. You were never meant to fight endlessly for scraps of attention, scraps of love, scraps of worth. And yet, if you're honest with yourself, there have been seasons where it felt exactly like that. Like you had to prove your value just to be seen. Like you had to shrink parts of yourself just to be accepted. Like you were constantly reaching, constantly giving, constantly pouring, and still feeling unseen. But deep down, beneath all of that, there has always been a quiet knowing inside you, a whisper you couldn't fully explain, a sense that your life was meant for more. Not in arrogance, but in truth. Even on the days when nothing made sense, when your hands felt empty and your efforts felt unnoticed, that whisper never left you. It stayed, quiet, steady, unshaken, reminding you that what you were experiencing was not your identity, it was just a season. Because before the world taught you how to survive, God already defined who you are, and something about you has always been different. You've felt it in the way you think, the way you move, the way you refuse to fully settle into spaces that drain you. You've tried to ignore it at times, tried to blend in, tried to convince yourself that maybe you were overthinking it, but you weren't. That feeling wasn't confusion, it was recognition. You were never meant to fit into systems that require you to shrink in order to belong. You were never designed to live your life begging for what was already assigned to you. And right now, in this moment, something inside you is waking back up, not loudly, not dramatically, but clearly, because this is the beginning of remembering who you really are. Long before you ever had a name, before anyone formed an opinion about you, before life placed expectations on your shoulders, you were already known. This is not just a comforting thought, it is a truth written in Scripture. As Jeremiah 1-5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." That means your life did not begin at birth. Your purpose did not start when others recognized you. It was established before any of that. You were chosen intentionally, specifically, and with meaning. There was already a calling placed over your life before you ever took your first breath. And even if life tried to distract you from that truth, even if circumstances made you question your worth or your direction, God never forgot who you are. You may have felt overlooked. You may have felt like you were behind, like others were moving ahead while you were still trying to understand your path. But what you didn't see is that your journey has always been guided by something deeper than timing. It has been guided by purpose. You were never random. You were set apart. And the reason that inner pull has never left you is because destiny does not disappear. It waits until you are ready to recognize it again. For so long, you may have felt like you had to earn your place, like your value depended on how much you could prove, how much attention you could attract, how much recognition you could receive from others. You learned, consciously or not, to perform, to be useful, to be impressive, to be seen, because somewhere along the way, it started to feel like being yourself was not enough. But that is a lie you were never meant to carry. You were not created to chase validation. You were not designed to measure your worth by how others respond to you. And you were never meant to exhaust yourself trying to be accepted in spaces that could not recognize your truth. If you are honest, that way of living has already drained you. The constant need to be acknowledged, the quiet disappointment when your efforts go unnoticed, the pressure to keep showing up, keep proving, keep giving, just to feel like you matter. But your value was never meant to be negotiated like that. There is a reason you are being pulled away from that mindset now, because God is breaking you out of the cycle of seeking approval from people who were never assigned to validate you. What he placed inside of you does not need permission to exist. And the moment you stop chasing attention, you begin to recover your peace. You need to recognize something about your journey that many people will never fully understand. You chose the narrow path. Not because it was easier, not because it was popular, but because something inside you would not allow you to live a life that felt false. There were moments when you could have stepped into the spotlight, moments where you could have said yes to opportunities that would have given you attention, recognition, even success by the world's standards. But deep down, you knew it would cost you something too valuable, your truth. So you walked away. You said no to environments that wanted your gifts but not your authenticity. You refused to become someone you couldn't recognize just to be accepted. While others were chasing visibility, you were protecting something sacred within you. And at times, that choice felt lonely. It felt like you were missing out, like you were falling behind. But you weren't. You were being set apart. Because the narrow path is not crowded. It is not loud. It does not reward you immediately, but it shapes you in a way that the easy path never could. It builds integrity when no one is watching. It strengthens your identity when everything around you is trying to change it. And that is what makes you different. What you have been calling delay was never punishment. It only felt that way because you were measuring your life by visible movement instead of invisible preparation. But God does not rush what He intends to last. And what He has been doing in your life required precision, not speed. There were seasons where nothing seemed to move. Doors stayed closed. Opportunities didn't come. Progress felt slow, almost non-existent. And in those moments, it was easy to question everything, to wonder if you had missed something, if you were being overlooked, or if obedience was costing you more than it was giving. But you weren't being held back. You were being trained. Every quiet season was refining your character. Every unanswered moment was strengthening your endurance. Every delay was removing what could not go with you into what is next. God was not ignoring your prayers. He was preparing you to carry the answer without it breaking you. Because not everything you ask for can be given immediately. Some things must be built into you first. The patience, the clarity, the stability, the capacity to hold what is coming without losing yourself in it. What looked like nothing happening was actually everything aligning, and one day soon you will look back and realize that if it had come earlier, you would not have been ready for it. And this is where everything begins to shift in a way that goes beyond effort, beyond strategy, beyond anything you were taught to rely on. Because this next season is not about you funding your own life through struggle. It is about God funding what He already formed within you. This is not metaphor. This is alignment. When God begins to fund your life, the currency changes. It is no longer just about money. It is about favor, where there used to be resistance, doors opening where there used to be walls, peace replacing the anxiety that once followed you everywhere, access appearing in places you never had to force your way into. You will notice it. Things that once required exhaustion will begin to flow. Conversations will align without pressure. Opportunities will find you without you chasing them. And at first, it may feel unfamiliar, almost too easy compared to what you have known. But this is what happens when heaven backs your life. You are no longer operating from survival. You are moving in support. You are no longer striving to prove your worth. You are being positioned in places that recognize it. And what makes this powerful is that it cannot be replicated by formulas, connections, or hustle. Because what God funds, He sustains. This is favor that cannot be explained, peace that cannot be manufactured. Open doors that no human effort could have created. And as it unfolds, you will begin to realize this was never about how hard you could push. It was about when God decided it was time. What is happening in your life right now cannot be traced back to a formula. It does not follow the patterns people are used to. There is no algorithm you can study, no strategy you can copy, no blueprint you can replicate to arrive where you are going. And that is exactly why it confuses people. Because they will look at your life and try to decode it. They will search for the system behind it, the method, the connections, the hidden advantage. But what they will not see is that your progress was not built on performance, it was built on faith. It was built in the quiet moments when no one was watching. It was built in the choices you made when it would have been easier to compromise. You did not take shortcuts. You did not shapeshift to fit expectations. You maintained your character when it would have been more rewarding to abandon it, and that is what created a foundation no system can imitate. Because strategy can open doors temporarily, but character sustains what enters. And faith, real faith, is what kept you moving when there was no visible reward. That is why what is unfolding in your life feels different. It is not manufactured success, it is something deeper, something that cannot be copied, only lived, and that is what makes it unshakable. There is a part of your story that no one fully saw, and yet it is the very part that shaped everything you are becoming now. The nights you cried without telling anyone, the moments you felt overwhelmed but still chose to keep going, the seasons where it seemed like everyone else was being celebrated while you remained unseen. You carried weight in silence, you showed up when you were tired, you believed when there was no evidence, you held on to your faith in rooms where doubt was louder than hope. And what made it even harder was that no one applauded those moments. No one recognized the strength it took just to stay steady when everything inside you wanted to give up. There were times when you questioned if it was even worth it. Times when you wondered if anyone noticed, if any of it mattered. But what you didn't see is that those hidden seasons were not wasted. They were building you. God saw every tear, every quiet prayer, every moment you chose to keep your heart soft instead of letting it harden. While others only saw the surface, heaven was measuring your endurance, your faith, your integrity. You were never invisible. You were being formed in a place where visibility could not interfere. And now, everything you carried in silence is about to speak. Something is shifting. Even if you cannot fully see it yet, you can feel it. It is subtle, but undeniable. Like the air right before a storm breaks, or the quiet tension before a wave crashes to shore, there is movement happening in the unseen, and it is building towards something you will not be able to ignore. This is not the kind of change that announces itself loudly at first. It begins beneath the surface, aligning details, repositioning people, adjusting timing with a level of precision you could never control on your own. And because you cannot track it, it may feel like nothing is happening, but that is the illusion. Something is happening. You may have noticed small signs already, a shift in how you feel, a growing sense of calm where there used to be urgency, a quiet confidence replacing confusion. These are not random changes, they are indicators that something is being prepared. Because when God moves, he does not rush, but he is never late. And what is coming will not require you to force it, chase it, or prove yourself for it. It will meet you where you are aligned. It will unfold in a way that feels natural, even if it once felt impossible. Stay aware, stay grounded. Because this moment you are stepping into is a turning point. What you are stepping into will change the way you understand wealth completely. Because real wealth was never just about money. It was never just about numbers, status, or what others can see from the outside. True wealth is something deeper, something that cannot be measured the way the world tries to measure success. Real wealth is peace. It is waking up without anxiety sitting on your chest. It is no longer feeling the constant pressure to prove yourself, to compete, to keep up with people who were never meant to walk your path. It is the quiet confidence of knowing who you are, without needing approval to validate it. Real wealth is identity. It is being rooted in who God created you to be, without shrinking, without performing, without pretending. It is looking at your life and recognizing that you are no longer trying to become someone else. You are finally becoming yourself. And real wealth is freedom. Freedom from striving, freedom from fear, freedom from the need to chase what was never meant for you. It is the ability to move with clarity, to choose with peace, and to live without the constant tension that once defined your days. This is the kind of wealth that lasts, and this is where everything rises into a level you may not have even allowed yourself to fully imagine. Because you are not just stepping into stability, you are stepping into overflow. Scripture says in Ephesians 3:20, "Now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think." And this is the kind of season you are entering. Not just enough, not barely making it, but more than enough, in ways that go beyond what you thought was possible for your life. You will begin to notice the shift clearly. Where there used to be tension, there will be ease. Where there used to be constant effort, things will begin to flow. Doors will open without resistance. Opportunities will align without pressure. And provision will show up before the need even has time to create stress. At first, it may feel unfamiliar, because you are used to working hard just to maintain. But this is different. This is not about striving anymore. This is about receiving. Because overflow does not come from force, it comes from alignment. You are entering a space where excellence and peace exist together, where you no longer have to choose between success and your soul, where what comes into your life does not drain you, but sustains you. This is the reward of staying true when it was easier to give up. And now, everything is about to reflect it. So hear this clearly: you are not an underdog. You were never overlooked, never forgotten, and never left behind. What looked like delay was design. What felt like silence was preparation, and what seemed like you were being passed over was actually God setting you apart for something greater than you could see at the time. You are not trying to catch up anymore. You are stepping into what was already prepared for you. This is the moment where your identity shifts. No more shrinking, no more doubting your place, no more questioning your worth based on what others failed to recognize. You are not chasing opportunities anymore. You are becoming the person they were always meant to find. Stand in that truth. Carry it with confidence. Walk forward knowing that your life is no longer defined by struggle, but by alignment, purpose, and favor. And if this message spoke to your heart, take a moment right now to like this video and share it with someone who needs this reminder. You never know who might be waiting for a message like this to shift their perspective. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can stay connected and continue receiving messages that strengthen your faith and remind you of who you truly are. Your journey is not over, it's just beginning, and what's ahead of you is greater than anything you've left behind.